One of the questions we get asked the very most is, do you have a therapist you can recommend for me? And while we wish that we knew of therapists in every single place, in every single part of the country, we don't. So what do we tell them instead, Mel?
We say check out BetterHelp because it's online, it's at a reasonable price, and you can be matched with a therapist within 24 hours. I've also used them and they have been great. And if you don't like your therapist, guess what? Click, and get a new one.
Absolutely. It's so hard when you have an in-person therapist, if you're not clicking with them, to cut them off and get a new one. So that's not an issue with BetterHelp. So we always tell people to try BetterHelp. And if you use our promo code, which is
trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month.
Go ahead and try it out. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. And you know what? I'm a big fan of doing therapy where you don't have to wear pants, but nobody knows about it.
Are you wearing pants right now, Mel?
I'll see you later. Bye. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN.
The following episode contains discussion around suicide.
This is fun because Mel is coming in late to the game and she doesn't know what we're doing or who we're talking to. So we're just going to start and see if she can figure it out.
Well, I mean, I see her.
Yeah, but you don't know from whence she hails.
That's true. I just want to say I was not late because I started the meeting, but...
I'm saying in the metaphorical sense.
Okay.
Just that she doesn't, I know this person, but Mel does not know this person.
Okay, now it's settled. Okay, person.
Okay.
Go.
Okay, so I know Anita from a previous life.
When we were strippers.
Oh my gosh, yes, I love that. I actually lived in Anita's neighborhood. I think it's been 10 years.
A while ago.
10 years ago, when my husband and I were first married, we lived in their neighborhood right up the road from Anita and Jason. And so we go way back. And ironically, we were only there for a couple years, but I remember when Jason died, we went to the funeral and it was the most beautiful touching service ever. And Jeff and I went and it was incredible. And you follow each other on social media, so you feel like you're somewhat connected.
Right.
And when Jeff died, Anita came through the line at my husband's viewing and I was like, oh, Anita, she knows.
I know. I was like, do you remember me? And she's like, yes. So you got to tell us your name.
I'm Kate Terry.
Kate Terry is the cutest. So everybody, you're jealous that you don't get to see Kate Terry.
No, because I'm a troll.
Well, I could put this on YouTube, you know. So have I heard you talk to me about Kate, Anita?
So Kate, remember that week that I had like all those widow things happen? Kate was part of that. And yes, I'm sure I told you about her when Jeff died, because we're always like, oh, a new widow. And then we have to talk about them.
Was this the week that you met a strange lady at Lagoon for some pants?
It was the pants week. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I went to another friend's husband's funeral that was jam-packed with 38 trillion people. And who was sitting on the row in front of me? Kate Terry. So I got to talk to her then too.
Death Club sucks. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Kate.
It sucks, but it's okay. We have each other, I guess.
We have each other. Kate, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you live? What do you do?
Oh my goodness. A little bit about me. I live currently in Bountiful, Utah. I am the mom to 2 kids. I have a 10-year-old daughter, Addie, and a almost 5-year-old son, Bo. I work for Ken Garff Automotive, which is really interesting because I don't care or know anything about cars, but I oversee their community outreach program and ironically their mental health program.
They have a mental health program for employees or for customers?
So I'm on the overarching team is employee experience. And so in that team, there's community outreach, there's mental health, all those resources. So,
Okay, I think that we should petition for car dealerships to have mental health resources for the people buying cars because it's the like worst experience ever.
it's so stressful. It's terrible. I
Yeah.
am not a good Utah mom. I've never seen High School Musical. I haven't watched any Bachelor or Dancing with the Stars or any of that BS. And I've never been to a high fitness class and I don't have a hydro jug. So
Same.
I'm fired from being a Utah
No,
mom.
I think that's great.
I've been to a high fitness class, guys. It was fun, but you just jump up and down for a whole
Yeah, I
hour.
feel like I'd pee my pants.
Yeah.
So
I think that's part of the experience. Okay.
Okay, so you live in Bountiful.
I live in Bountiful, yes.
Okay.
Where are you from originally? I don't even know.
This is like a 3 beer story, as I like to say, as a non-drinker. But I was born in Utah, but officially raised in Pennsylvania
Oh,
from when I was like 5 to 16. So I moved to Utah when I was 16, and I've stayed ever since. So I will claim Utah, but my spiciness and my edginess is for sure from this East Coast. Born
where in Pennsylvania?
in a small town outside of Harrisburg
Okay.
called Danville. So
Weird.
very small town, Amish. My first boyfriend was Amish.
No.
Wait, how? I thought that was forbidden.
He had left,
Oh.
and I didn't make him leave.
I've watched a few like TikToks of ex Amish people getting like how they get dressed. Oh my heavens. It is
Yeah.
so much effort. They have to put pins everywhere. And I just think, oh no, that I'm out for that purpose. Not even
Yeah.
for any of the other stuff. Just the
Yeah,
pins.
small town, rural Pennsylvania. And we've made it to the robust, white bread, bountiful Utah.
Yeah, why did you come back?
Parents were divorced, so I grew up and I was raised with my mom. And then she actually had a job change. We came back to Utah and she gave us the choice. Do you want to live with mom or dad? And we chose dad. And then sooner than later, I stayed. I was in college and haven't left, haven't gotten far. I graduated from Bountiful High School. So
Okay, that's amazing. Tell us about Jeff. Like, where did he come from? And tell us about him.
yeah, so Jeff, ironically, his older brother and his wife and kids lived in my dad's neighborhood. And so I knew Jeff's older brother. I actually babysat for some of his nephews when they were itty bitty. And so Jeff found me on Facebook, which is so gross to think about. Like it's so cringe. And he friended me, but I recognized him because I knew his brother. And so Jeff came into the picture. I had zero interest of dating him. I had a missionary out at the time, had zero interest. And so we actually met officially for the first time at the gym. I wore basketball shorts, a cutoff t-shirt, and I was like, yeah, this isn't going anywhere, buddy. And on our first date, I wore sweatpants, and the rest was history.
So, what convinced you to give him a chance?
I think I just had this idea that he was this bad boy and he was gonna, be a bad influence on me. And I don't know. I was just judgmental, I think. And in my head, I was like, no, I already know what I want. And then I got to know him as a human being, and he was the most kind, loving, just wonderful person. And so yeah, it happened.
I feel like Jeff and Jason had something in common in that, like, if you were to look at them, you would be like, yikes, I don't want to talk to you. You might beat me up. But they were not that way in their personalities.
No, I mean, Jason, no, other than his
No.
mustache. I mean,
Tons of people tell me they thought that he was scary. So
yeah, there's a level of intimidation. And Jeff, I think, had that level of intimidation because his journey with how he navigated his faith belief and in just such a strict, very thick culture in Davis County, that was really hard. He has tattoos. And so
Yes.
that was really hard for people. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think that was hard for a lot of people to navigate. But once you got to know him as who he was as a human being.
Anita and I grew up in Davis County, and so I remember like thinking having a tattoo is like the worst thing you could ever do.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, we're adults now and life happens, and it's like, it's funny to me to watch the older generation still kind of believe that. Like, I went to the dentist, and the dentist was like, "Oh, I love that tattoo." I was like, "You should get one." She's like, "I can't. I work in Davis County, and there are people who are old, like, 80 that would come in and they will stop coming, or, they have a problem with it." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" So
She could totally get a tramp stamp. Nobody would see that.
that's true. I should have told her that. Put it on the back.
Well, I mean, it's actually funny you say that because Jeff's tattoos, he did have a full length or a half sleeve. So from where like a t-shirt goes all the way up over his shoulder and his chest, but he did that intentionally so people wouldn't see it if he was wearing a t-shirt. But Jeff had the personality of the first weekend we move into our new house in Farmington.
By me.
I'm mowing the lawn with my shirt off so everyone knows to leave me the heck alone. And it worked.
So when you moved into Anita's neighborhood,
Mhm.
Jason was still alive?
Yes, and Jason was hilarious because Jeff was he was very guarded, just a very guarded human being. And I think tried to attend church services and be supportive of me for me, not for himself. And so Jason was always so funny about coming to visit and not texting ahead of time and not giving us a warning. And he would just like bust through the door. And Jeff would be like, "What is happening?" Which was so great for Jeff because Jeff needed that kind of confidence and that kind of like brashness because Jason was like, "Hey, I love you. If you don't love me back, that's fine, but I'm here to love you." And it was
Yeah.
great.
Aw.
I just think Jason wasn't scared of Jeff. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people are scared of people who are like different or don't act the way that you expect them to. And Jason was just like, no, I don't care. So yeah.
What did Jeff do for a job?
Jeff was the quintessential blue collar guy. He was incredible with his hands. While we were married, he worked in a couple different fields, but some of them were like facilities maintenance, heavy machinery, and then he actually finished with working in automotive. He also worked in Kangarf and he was a service advisor. So he was actually the person that would tell you, "This is what's wrong with your car, and this is how much it's going to cost."
Yeah.
Fun.
So he got yelled at for a living, I think is a correct way to put it.
Oh man. And then your job was to give him like mental health
Let me
support.
let me support you by here's some mental health programs that we're providing. So yeah.
Yeah.
So we did work for the same company, which was ironic. I work for the corporate office, which oversees 70 dealerships. And then he worked for one of our dealerships in Utah in West Valley Ford.
All right, this is the week, Anita. This Friday.
At 7 p.m. Mountain Time, we are doing our inaugural Patreon Zoom hangout. So come join us if you're a member of our Patreon at the widow wife or the dead husband level, and we'll have a nice time hanging out and chatting.
Yeah. Now, this is a little bit different from online hangouts that we've done in the past because this is exclusively for members of the widow wife tier and the dead husband tier of our Patreon. So it's going to be a smaller, more intimate gathering. We can really get to know each other better. We're going to have a lot of fun. And if you would like to join those tiers, but you're not yet a member of that, go to patreon.com/WWDN and you can sign up. We offer multiple things at different tiers. And so this is one of the benefits of those two levels.
Yeah, and we're so excited to say thank you to everybody who supports us because really, truly, the podcast would not exist if you guys weren't here to support us monetarily because the podcast costs money. So we're so excited to see you this Friday, January 23rd, 7 p.m. Mountain Time.
See you there.
Yay! So tell us a little bit about like how your marriage went. Like how were things?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think, gosh, I'm going to share my story and I don't know how many people I'm going to relate to because, you hear some episodes where they had the most beautiful relationship and it was incredible and their loss was devastating and I just think, gosh, my journey is so different. um our marriage was hard. It was so hard. We talked a little bit about how Jeff was guarded and part of that I realized unfortunately after we were married um is he was suffering from mental health tremendously, depression, anxiety, ADHD, and I had known some of that. But what I didn't understand was that he was hiding and kind of numbing out with substances. And so Jeff was hiding drinking from me from me our entire marriage. That didn't really blow up until about 6 years into our marriage. And that all came to a head in 2018. He got a DUI with our 2-year-old daughter in the car. And so I think at that point, reality just kind of set in that I wasn't crazy. What I was experiencing was real, it was valid, and his experience was real. And so a lot of our marriage was just, navigating really painful things with addiction and recovery and all of that. And with this giant wave of mental health underneath it, it was rocky. And I would never say that there weren't beautiful moments. I mean, of course, we had beautiful moments and I loved him deeply, but it was tough.
So I just want people to understand also that in the community we live in, like a lot of places, this kind of thing is quote unquote unacceptable. Here, it's unacceptable isn't a strong enough word. It's like shameful. It is probably, I would say, much harder to deal with this because you don't feel like you can be honest with the world about what's going on because it doesn't just mean you're having a hard time. It also means that you are failures as humans, right? Like your worth is how polished and good you are, and it sometimes doesn't allow people to be real people with real like struggles and suffering. So, and like I just you saying your story, it makes me feel so sad for you that maybe you didn't feel like you could get the support you needed in this place that we live because it would just not be seen as something that you could open up about. I don't know if that was your experience, but I worry about that.
Yeah, 100%. There was a ton of shame and guilt. And in the culture that Anita is speaking to, you are kind of convinced that you make your decision and you tough it out and you figure it out no matter what. And it was really, really difficult. There were so many times where I was on the fence about leaving or whatever that looked like. And there was a period where we were separated for a year. And then ultimately I came back. But I think a lot of Jeff's suffering was shame-based and not getting the support that he needed from a young age. I think it was just suppressed. And I think that's common for a lot who suffer with addiction and mental health, that you're just going to find other ways.
Did you, Anita, know about these struggles while Jason was alive?
No,
No. Okay.
no. And I mean, I don't know all of the details. I've never sat down and like asked Kate all of the things, but we have talked a couple times and gotten kind of some overview and like when he died, it was kind of like, okay, I kind of know what's going on here, but then the depth of it has also been like, okay, like I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that this is what you went through, leading up to that as well.
I mean, I've never met Jason, but I feel like I know Jason a little bit, through you.
Yeah.
And so I can see how Jason's personality and just how he was would be good for Jeff if he's like, I don't relate with a lot of people. I have these things that I'm hiding. And even just like the little connections, where once in a while, like a random neighbor that's cool sees
Yeah.
you. Like, I want to go back in time and be
I
like,
do too.
guys, go bro it out together.
I do. I'm like, man, I just wish Jason was here because Jason would have loved Jeff through all of that, no matter what. Do you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of
Yeah.
people would just be like, well, you're a loser. I'm done.
I think that's how he felt. A lot of people tried. I think a lot of people tried to break through to him, to let him. I mean, I would say I was the most like
Yeah.
the biggest advocate of like, you're enough. We can get through this. We can figure this out. Um, and then at the end of his life, as far as our culture goes within our religion, um, we had an ecclesiastical leader finally break through to him. It's so funny because I always thought like someone's going to get through to this guy. That's not me. That's going to say, you're enough. It's going to be okay. You're enough. You may not fit in this box perfectly, but you are loved as you are. And it was our stake president at the time, just randomly wanted to meet our family. And for whatever reason, Jeff was very guarded, was like, absolutely not. I don't want this man in my home. What are we doing? And by the end of the night, after they had met, I think they hugged. And I think later that week they went to breakfast and we became friends. And so, yeah, human connection, it's important.
Did Jeff, did he realize that he had a problem? Like, did he ever understand that? Did you guys do like the rehab thing?
Yeah, after his DUI, he was, of course, faced reality. He went to treatment for 60 days, outpatient or inpatient. So he went away for 60 days. And then he came home. And within a month of him being home, he relapsed and attempted suicide for the first time in 2018. And then just continued to seek sobriety and support and resources, found community and connection in AA. And then 2020 hit, which was hard for a lot of people, and relapsed again. And then it was just kind of an ongoing battle of sobriety and managing his mental health. And so up until the day he died, he was sober from alcohol, but he was using other things to numb out, which I was suspicious of, but ultimately it was confirmed in the medical examiner report.
So he died from substance something, or yeah, what ended up happening towards the end?
A few years after he kind of gave up alcohol, a coworker turned him on to Kratom,
What
which
is that?
anyone, if this could be my plea or PSA to anyone who knows of it or who knows someone on it, get off it. It's essentially a natural, or that's what they're going to coin it, a plant-derived liquid, but it's in the opioid family. And so essentially it takes the edge off. It tries to help you calm down. It's not CBD. It's not in the marijuana family, but it's highly addictive. And so you can get it at Maverick. You
Oh,
can
so like the gas station.
Mhm. You can get it at the local gas station. I think you have to be 18 to get it, or you get it at like a smoke shop or a vape shop. But someone turned him on to that to just help him find relief. And so that became his new addiction. And then in 2022, essentially a huge argument broke out over Kratom and his abuse and hiding it. And that was his second attempt of suicide in 2022. He died on July 2nd of 2024, and he shot himself at work.
Oh,
It's
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter how many people he talked to, Mel. It still just like hits you. You know what I'm saying? Just like the sadness and the devastation.
Yeah.
And how many people it all affects. Like, here's this person who's suffering and who suffered for a long time. And then, Kate, you've been trying to manage that. You have kids, and like, that's hard on you, that's hard on them. And then employees at work find it's just, I'm glad that you're talking about this and willing to be open about it because, like you said, you hear a lot of stories of people who maybe seem to have the perfect marriage. And honestly, like, there are some times where we're talking to people and you can see them try to compensate for the parts that were not pretty. And it's almost because the person is dead. They're like, well, I don't want to seem like, now that they're gone, that even though it happened, I don't want that to like tarnish anything of it. But you know how we are here. It's like, hey, things happen, like they happened, and it's, no judgment here for any of the sides. Like, all this stuff is so hard. So thanks, first of all, for sharing that. And I think a lot of people will resonate with it. And we often do, get emails from maybe the people who are more prone to quote lurk because they feel like they don't fit in as well. I think so many people deal with similar things. So this was 2024, you said, right? In July
2nd, 2024, I was home, working from home. And oh man, I could replay that day back, detail by detail. But essentially, I was working from home. It was right after my daughter had gotten home from school. My little guy was playing, and I was walking upstairs in my home, and I happened to glance out a window, and I saw cop cars at the end of my street, and my heart just sank because they were walking up the street, the two police officers. And so when there was a knock at my door, I just knew. So the two officers came to my door, and shortly after, my daughter comes running in the house. I mean, everyone's crying. Everyone's, it was just chaos from that point forward. So they notified me right then and there that he passed away at work. They told me it was a gunshot. They wouldn't give me details. It was very just, as broad as they could be.
So they didn't say self-inflicted or a gunman came in. They just said gunshot.
I don't even remember if they said gunshot. I think they just said your husband's deceased. He died at work. But deep down in my heart, I already knew, like it was his third attempt. And I think ever since he had attempted for the first time, 6 years prior, whatever the math is, I don't do math.
Especially as a widow.
No widows do. We're all done with math.
I always, in the back of my head and like deep in my heart, I knew that that's how he would go. I just didn't want to accept it. And so when they told me that he had passed, or that he was deceased, I think was the exact verbiage, I knew that he did it to himself. I just didn't know the exact details until I communicated with the detective a few hours later.
Kate, this is super personal, and if you don't want to answer, you can tell me you don't want to answer.
Okay.
But did he, when he attempted 2 previous times before, I'm guessing he didn't use the same method. Did he use the same methods the first 2 times and they were unsuccessful, and so then he went to the gun?
Yeah. So all 3 times were different. Yeah. He was suffering immensely.
Yeah.
The other thing, that I think comes into play with his mental health and with Kratom specifically, and substances in general, is Kratom can cause psychosis.
Perfect. Yeah.
He
Great.
also was medicated, was seeing a psychiatrist regularly, was working out, was eating healthy, I hate how sometimes in the mental health world we say like, well, if you follow steps A through Z, you will be happy. And that's not always the case. So on the outside, Jeff looked happy. He was all of these things, and he was just silently suffering. Those closest to him knew, but to the depths, I don't think anyone would ever imagine what he was feeling.
Yeah.
How were things with the two of you around the time of his death? Could you tell he was really low
No,
or?
he was in a low spot. Ironically, the weekend before, we had a little family reunion trip with my extended family. We went to Pineview. And so the pictures I've sent, they were taken 5 days before he died. So it's really interesting. But he was in a low point. But I think I was so used to him being low that I couldn't distinguish where his basement was. I didn't know where rock bottom was for him.
Mm.
And when you love someone and support someone who's struggling, that you exhaust every resource to try and help them, but ultimately it's, their own journey.
What has it been like for you to explain things to your kids? Or did you, like, how much detail have you gone into, like, their kids, Like, what's your approach so far?
Yeah, my daughter was, uh, let's see, my daughter was 8 when he died, and my son was 3 at the time. And so when my daughter came in, she came in hysterical. I just remember saying, like, dad died, like, dad passed away. And her immediate response was, who killed him?
Mm.
She was like, who would do that? Who killed him? And I just remember always saying, like, I don't know details, Addie. I don't know details. I don't know details. And so it took me a while to be honest with her about it being suicide. I didn't want to hide that information from her, but I wanted it to be age appropriate. And I know people will have opinions about that, but I chose to tell her that he shot himself. I didn't say where, because the other layer to this is, she wanted to see him when we were making funeral arrangements. And I chose to have a closed casket for my own selfish reasons, but I did see Jeff, and you wouldn't know necessarily, like, they did a great job, but Addie wanted to see him, and so I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I just told her that he shot himself. She didn't know where, as far as on his body, and she was obviously just devastated and heartbroken. My son, the almost 5-year-old now, he doesn't know how. He just knows dad died. But I think enough people have talked around him that he's starting to catch on to things. But we speak pretty openly about suicide in our house, and I have my daughter enrolled in a group therapy home for kids here in Utah, and they're taught to talk about it and to, have those difficult conversations. So, navigating that is, I'm never going to do it perfectly.
What does that even mean?
Yeah. I'm just here with my mouth open, just like this. You're in these impossible situations and you have to take some steps.
And it's hard too, because people learn and people talk. Humans are curious, right? And so I remember a couple months after he died, I had taken Addie to a friend's house, and like the little sibling came running out and was like, "Why did your dad kill himself?"
Oh.
And I was just like, ugh. And so I wanted her to know the information from me and not hear it from a
Right.
neighbor. Or so it's just kind of impossible waters to figure out. But
Yeah. Yeah. And when you said you wanted the information to be age appropriate, it's like, I don't know. When is suicide? Like it's not age appropriate even when you're 99 years old. Like it's such a hard concept. I'm curious about when Addie was born, did that shift his mental health at all? Like having a child can sometimes do really great things for people and sometimes it can do the opposite. So was having kids, like what did that do for him?
ironically, when we had kids or when we got pregnant with Addie, his biggest fear was, I don't want her to have the same struggles I have. I don't want her to have the same mental health problems. And Jeff was the most present, loving dad. He was such a good dad. And so I would say his mental health shifted in the fact that he had more purpose. He had a reason to like keep fighting. But ultimately it wasn't enough to, get the help he really needed.
And it sounds like he was trying to get that help. He was seeing a psychiatrist, he had done rehab. It's not like he was pretending everything was fine either.
Yeah, I mean, he had a sponsor at AA.
Doing all like you said, the eating and the exercising and the trying to do what what is supposed to help. It's just like people who eat healthy and do all of the things and they still get cancer too. It's like what the.
Well, yeah, I look at Jason, who's like
Yes.
the fit human being ever. And then why the heck does that happen to him?
Yeah.
It doesn't always make sense. But
Just you telling your story to us though, I just keep thinking to myself like, "Oh, Kate, like I don't know if you realize because sometimes you're in too deep to realize like how much you've been through too. Like this is not normal life. This is like you have been in a harrowing like 3 suicide attempts like that. Each one of those is too much for one person to deal with. And so I'm just like, oh, I just want to like hug you and tell you like I'm sorry that you've had to do all of these things. And I hope that you have support and help and don't feel alone in carrying all of that. But of course you do feel alone because you're the only one who can carry it, even if people want to help.
yeah, it's been interesting since Jeff has died to really pull back the curtain and to see how much I have been carrying.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have a great support system. I have a great network of people rallying around me. But you're right. At night when everything's quiet for 10 seconds, it's pretty lonely.
Talk to us about what it's been like as soon as you realized you were now a widow and you have this different life that was kind of chosen for you. Talk us through that or pieces of it.
I think the shock was around for a long time, especially when there's people around and support around and there's meals coming in and texts coming in. And I think it took a minute for the shock to wear off. I think my nervous system is still in overdrive. But once the reality did set in that it was me and this was my new reality, I don't know. It's been really interesting. It's because of how complicated my grief is with losing him suddenly. It also came with like a wave of relief, which then makes me feel guilty. And I think it's relief that he doesn't have to suffer anymore, but also that I don't have to carry that for him anymore. And I never had to. I think I became really unhealthy, wrapped up in trying to save everyone. And those who are in a similar situation understand kind of the codependent tendencies you fall into. But yeah, it was never my journey to carry for him, but I just tried so hard to just love every hard thing out of him. And so there are moments where I feel or felt like I had failed him. And then I also have moments of maybe I gave him purpose to stay longer than he would have had he not had me and the kids. Carl, this is so depressing.
What is this, like a widow
Oh my
podcast?
gosh, this is terrible. I'm sure your listeners love hearing my like snot bubbles.
Okay, but Kate, here's the truth. They do
Yeah.
because we
Well,
get it
this
in
is
our
real and raw.
yeah. we get in our minds that people have perfect marriages, and I think pretty, it's not, it's not that uncommon to have this really messy relationship.
Yeah.
Even in marriages where there's not substance abuse or it's not suicide, like it's not always sunshine and roses and beauty and love at home. And so sometimes it's freeing to hear other people say that there was good and there was a lot of bad too. And it's not straightforward ever because life just isn't straightforward.
Yeah.
Can't be, even though we'd like it to be.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're coming into the holidays for the second time. Tell us about that.
Well, we talked about this a little off air, but I feel like the second round is going to be a little more challenging than the first time. And I think that's because you're still a little bit in the fog. I was 6 months, last time experiencing the holidays. And I think there's something to be said about when it's new for your friends and your family and the people supporting you. They go above and beyond to just make it special. And, there are intentional efforts. And I think, after time, people just go back to living their lives. And, my cushion of someone generously sneaking $100 in my mailbox, like those days are gone, right? And so I think the reality of it's really me that is financially going to carry us through is daunting. I'm trying to give myself grace as far as like the memories and the traditions. And, my kids are hopefully just going to be appreciative of whatever that looks like.
No, they're not going to be.
No, sometimes they're such little a-holes.
See, it's not just me. When they're like 27, I think I am always like, please, at some point in time, you have to realize what I did for you,
I
just
know.
like I do
One
for
day.
my mom now. But
One day. But yeah, I think the holidays, I think it's going to be okay. It's just interesting. Grief for me isn't so much on the holidays. It's like the weird little random moments right now that kind of jolt me back into like, oh yeah, you're still alone. Oh yeah, he's really not coming back.
With being in a relationship where, codependency is kind of a given, and you mentioned the word, you're trying to keep the family together, you're trying to love the hard things out of him. Who is Kate now that portion is gone? Are you discovering new parts about you, or how is that going?
That's such a great question. The last year and a half, I have tried to just intentionally figure that out. Like, who am I separate of wife and mom? What makes me happy? What sets my soul on fire? Because ultimately, I want to be the best version for myself and for my kids. And so I've not played small anymore. Meaning I love the outdoors. I love to hike. I love to trail run. I love to do all those things. And this summer, I would almost every weekend, 4:30 on a Saturday, you would find me starting hiking somewhere. And at first I kind of had some guilt around that. Like, my kids need me. They don't have anyone else. And
not at 4:30 in the morning. They don't need you.
right? No. And it's been really healing to just kind of live how I want to live, and still intentionally doing things that make me happy. And I want to continue that even if I ever date or explore, or have another relationship. I need to continue. I think I did lose myself in trying to save Jeff. And so I can't do that again with anyone.
Oof.
It's a high cost to a valuable lesson.
So much pressure too, How do you not let it happen? I don't even know.
Well, yeah, I don't know. And I think there's something to be said about giving to the relationship, but I can't pour from an empty cup anymore. And so I just have to continue to figure out how to fill my own cup.
When you said that you don't play small, what made me laugh about that is Kate is about this tall.
I'm 5'1 3/4. I always
Oh.
round up to 5'2.
Yes. Yes.
Have you connected with other widows of suicide?
Yeah, so because I'm involved in this group home with kids who experience,
Is it the sharing place?
yes,
Okay.
the sharing place. What's ironic about the sharing place is because of my job, we do community outreach and I create opportunities for our employees to give back to the community. And one of those communities a few years ago was the sharing place. And so a group of my employees went in and built a new playground and
Oh,
laid new mulch and did all these things. And then how serendipitous that a few years later, my own kids would be on that playground. So kind of wild. So I have met other widows through the sharing place, and that has been good and bad. I think sometimes when you meet people in their grief stages, you think, I don't want to be like that in 5 years, or I'm doing way better than I think I am. Like everyone is on their own journey, but it's been good. And then also recently, we had someone in my neighborhood who lost her husband the same way. And so that's kind of been a beautiful journey for me to be able to support her and share in her pain.
Is that your stomach growling, Anita?
no. Did everybody hear that? It was like
Did
That
you
was a
hear it?
booming.
helicopter that just went over my head.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. I was like, it sounded like aliens for just half a second there.
They could be. No, that was a very large helicopter. Sorry about that.
it's
So
your fault.
I'm so curious as to how people have treated you over the suicide issue in our community. And if it has been something that has caused you extra pain.
Hmm, good question. Suicide obviously is so taboo. I think we're getting better at talking about it. I don't think it's caused extra pain, but I also think in part of my healing journey, I've just kind of faced it head on. So with my employer, I said, I want to take on the mental health program. And what are they
Oh.
going to do? Say no to the widow who
Yeah.
lost her husband to suicide? Absolutely not. You will not say no to me. And so I have kind of taken advantage of that platform and really just tried to dive in. So that's been really healing from a standpoint as far as work goes. That's been an interesting dynamic, right? Is I'm always going to be known as the widow or the person who lost her husband to suicide, or at least that in the back of my head. I think, that's going to be my legacy. I refuse to go down with that. But then on the other hand, I just think like this is a beautiful opportunity for me to pay homage to Jeff and just we have to do better. We have to do better for the people we work with. And then also just as a human race, we have to do better. And so in my little corner of the world with my 6,000 base employees, I have that chance to talk about it and be more vulnerable and share my story in hopes that it helps at least one person. And then as far as like our community locally, I've been really vulnerable and open about it. Gratefully, it hasn't, no one's directly said anything in a negative context. And if they did, I'd probably just throat punch them. So I'm dead serious.
Good.
I want to see the newspaper headline. Grieving widow
Seriously.
punches angry Karen. Suicide. This is like, this is going to be deep and existential. Can we prevent suicide? Like, is it even possible?
That's a really heavy question. I don't know if we can prevent suicide, but I think we can be proactive about making intentional efforts for more connection. I really think people are scared to reach out. They're scared that that's going to push them over the edge. There's all these weird opinions that way. I just think I was married to Jeff for, it will be 14 years in 2026. And there were many moments where I wanted to leave, but I was so afraid to do so because I was afraid he was going to die by suicide. I was so afraid that that was going to push him to the edge. And then ultimately, he did it anyway. And so I just think, authentic connection is so important as human beings. And obviously, we can't control what people do, but I think we can sure as hell try harder.
That's the part that I always have a question about, because it's like you see the campaigns and it says prevent suicide, like there's, a vaccine for it or something. And this is not that. And the person will always have their choice.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't control their choices, even though, we're all part of connection together. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and it also doesn't take into account, like Kate did everything she could to prevent that. You know what I'm saying? To the point of sacrificing herself in some ways. And so it's kind of like, oh, thanks, I'll just go ahead and prevent it. But as we've been talking, I think maybe the idea isn't to ask one person to prevent it, but to share the load a little bit more with the people around us and to reach out and not expect just one person to carry that, but to, like you said, connect with more people and be on the lookout for little places that you can help people feel seen and loved, and not just in your immediate sphere, but as far and wide as you can, even in tiny ways, so that that load isn't just on the immediate family of somebody who's going through that.
Yeah. And I think the greater issue is mental health in general. There's a lack of support and availability and resources. Speaking of mental health, my daughter Addie struggles immensely with mental health. She has her whole life, and now it's just been exacerbated. And I just think I'm bankrupting myself trying to give her every possible tool and resource so that it's not the same outcome for her.
Mm.
But I just think there are people in my same situation who don't feel supported or don't have the financial means or whatever that looks like. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know.
I have a question again about the kratom. Do you think that because he had kratom in his system, it gave him some psychosis, and then because suicide often, there's impulse, right?
Yeah,
And you think that's the cause of the impulse?
I think Kratom was directly involved in his decision. And the reason I say that is because if Jeff were to do this, he would have done it in the mountains, away from everybody. It was just so unlike him to do it in such a vengeful public place. He left notes, but they were just little sticky notes. So just when I piece all of those things together, it makes me think that this was very impulsive. And I think Kratom had a large part in his decline at the end. And I think there would be direct correlation.
Why did he have a gun with him at work too? Like, that is one of those things where I'm sure you can't answer that question, but it's just like, like, had he not had that with him when that impulse arose,
Right.
what would be the outcome now?
I think he had it in his car. I'm not sure because I had no idea. Like, he was a hunter and we have a gun safe and, rifles, those types of things. I didn't even know he owned this gun. And yeah, it was legally registered to him, like all those things. He had bought it years and years and years ago. So it wasn't like he just went out and bought it right before, but he had access to it. And so I don't know. I don't know if it was in his backpack for months or in his car for months, Like, I'm not really sure. Um, but I think the kratom for sure played a part in the impulsivity.
I just want to make clear too. I am not saying like, why did he have that? Like, why did you let him have that? I'm not trying to like place blame anywhere. It's just like also, why? Like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Since he has died, do you ever feel him or sense him around, or what's your, I don't know, either belief or feeling on where Jeff is now, and does, I don't know, do you feel connected to him still, or how, or is that going?
And would you throat punch him
Yeah.
if he got too near?
Yes, I would throw punch him and I would have many questions for him. Um, it's, I believe where he's at, I believe he's free from pain and he's free from suffering. A question I had early on in my widowhood, and I asked my ecclesiastical leader, I said, do you think now that he can see clearly and he doesn't have kratom in his body and he doesn't feel anxiety and depression and ADHD, do you think he regrets what he did? Or do you think he's has so much peace he wants to see he would want to stay there? That was one of my like big questions. And I don't know if I'll ever know the answer, but I think where he is now, he's not suffering, he's not in pain. I think he's aware of what happened. I unfortunately do not feel this like connection to him. I haven't had dreams. I haven't had, you know, um, every once in a while, something will happen where I'll think, oh, that was a Jeff moment. Like I'll be trail running and I'll find a feather, or his song will come on the radio, things like that. Um, but I also think that might be on my end too, right? Like I'm still processing anger and confusion and all of that. So I don't know. But I try to make my kids connect with him or point out things like, oh, look at this dragonfly that's circling a million times. Like maybe that's dad. So I'm trying to keep that alive for my kids so that they may have those opportunities. But unfortunately for me, I have not experienced anything like earth shattering or I feel him close.
So I remember we've talked about this stuff a lot too, with amongst, just Anita and I and some other widows too, and it's almost like other people sometimes seem to get those feelings or whatever, but when we're in the thick of the blah, it's like it can't get through. But I remember being so mad. I'm like, why can't you just haunt me? Why can't I?
Yeah.
And I was also so mad. Like, I want to know where you are. I want to know what you're doing. Like, I know obviously you're not on the earth, but where does your consciousness go? I want to see. And it's like I just felt so slighted that I couldn't have access to that. And then when others might have a story that maybe they had had some kind of like nod from him, or I don't know, a visitation, who knows, it just would kind of dig in more. And then over time I don't know, then I was more willing to share those with other people and be like, that's so cool that maybe somebody had a connection with him. And I guess if he couldn't come to me because I was in so much pain, okay, but I don't know. So that's a long way of saying like that makes a lot of sense and is totally valid. And the amount of weight that you have with grief and shock and trauma and your nervous system being however it is, like totally makes sense. I hope you
Yeah.
don't feel like you're doing anything wrong or anything.
Mel only has dreams about Scott, that he's really alive and that he doesn't like her. So
Yeah. So when you're like, I haven't had any dreams, I'm like, oh, good. Good. She doesn't have to wake up from that dream and like rebury him or like reprocess it or be like, oh, because I mean, my husband did not die by suicide. And I still was like, you could have chosen to come back. Somewhere in my mind, I was like, you had a choice. And he didn't. He tonsillectomy. And so I remember feeling like discarded and like I wasn't enough. So I can't imagine the immensity of somebody in a situation like yours. So there are not words or anything big enough to like convey that to you. So, but I hope that you can kind of feel it through our hearts that we're with you and it all sucks and you have a lot you've gone through and will still go through. But thanks for sharing all of that. We're so grateful.
So my sister, we had an uncle who died by suicide when it was in 2002, and his wife had died of cancer, and he lived for a few years, and then it was just too much, and he ended up dying by suicide. And there was a lot of that, like, how selfish can you be? You know, you have left your kids orphans, all of this stuff. And her take on it, and she wrote this beautiful thing, was that when people are in that state, that action is ironically one of self-preservation because they feel like they are losing themselves to the pain and that is the way to exit that pain and to preserve who they really are in a strange way. And she likened it to 9/11 when the building is burning and people were jumping out of the building. And they weren't jumping out of the building to kill themselves. They were jumping out of the building to escape. And it was in a strange way. They were trying to preserve themselves. But, you know, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But their actions are actions of trying to save themselves by ending their lives. And that's just like, it's not a selfish thing like we think of it as being.
Yeah, and I don't consider it selfish of Jeff. I mean, sometimes when I'm extra frustrated or overstimulated, I'll be like, I hope you're enjoying this because this sucks. Like I'll like yell at the fridge. But I think he was so mentally broken that he had convinced himself that we would be better off without him.
Yeah, it's so hard.
Which obviously isn't true.
Do you think people are scared to talk to you about it because it's suicide?
I hope people aren't scared to talk to me because it's suicide. I want to create a safe place for people to open up. And I've seen that happen in the last year and a half. People have started to share their journeys, whether it's substance abuse or mental health or suicide specifically. I don't think I'm far enough into my widowhood to have wisdom to share. I think I would just say for anyone who, lost someone to suicide or substance or mental health, however you want to frame it. I just think I love the idea that, Jeff wasn't necessarily my happily ever after, but I hopefully was able to provide as much happy as I could. I just think it's so important as the widow or the one left to just not carry that weight, that it's not your fault and that there's nothing you could have done or said. I try and replay back to that time and I just think, well, if I would have made dinner or if I would have brought him lunch that day at work, or, I just replay every text and every interaction leading up to it. And there's no sense in living in that space. It's not helpful for you. And I think whoever your loved one is doesn't want you to be there either. Mm-hmm. And so I think my story has just been trying to turn my pain into purpose. I'm trying to transform my trauma and not just transfer it. But It's a journey every day.
Oh, Kate, thank you so much for sharing your story. I feel like it's always weird when we have a story like this that's super heavy and rough, and we're like, what kind of cheese do you like?
Yeah.
But we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm ready.
Mel, ask it.
Hey, Kate, what's your favorite cheese?
Do I have to have one?
No, you've earned more.
You can earn
Good. Oh,
whatever
good.
you want.
I love all cheese. There's a specific block of cheese from Trader Joe's that has like caramelized onions in it. It's like an aged cheddar.
With ooh,
What?
I would just eat it by itself.
I
It's
need to make a
delicious.
trip.
I also love soft cheeses like goat cheese, feta, like
Mm,
that on things.
that genre of cheese.
I love all cheese. I don't discriminate.
Inclusive cheese.
She's cheese inclusive. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kate. We hope everybody has found her story to be insightful and helpful to some of you, and that some of you will, I don't know, take something from it and connect with something in there. So thank you.
Thank you.
If you'd like to keep the podcast going, check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
If you'd like to buy us tacos or Trader Joe's cheese with caramelized onions in it, go to buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonoww.
And we always love a nice rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And until we get to talk to you again, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
I'm Kate.
And we're just two young widows and one pocket widow. And we're all just trying to figure out widow
We
to.
now. Pocket widow. Do you
She
remember
can
Polly
fit it.
Pockets?
He can fit in my pocket. He's so cute. Mel, can you please tell me how you feel about therapy?
I am so grateful for therapy. I do therapy every single week.
Do you think it's a great tool in the widow's toolbox?
I sure do. I think it's a great tool in anybody's toolbox. And I am so glad that I have stuck with it because as time goes on, there are more things that I am able to learn about myself. That goes for anything from healing from the death of my husband to childhood things to trying to get outside and be social or trying to address my own certain personality. So yeah, it's really been helpful for me.
We have so many people in the Widow Wives Club who have started using BetterHelp and have amazing reviews. It takes away so many of the barriers to getting great therapy.
I know one of the things that's hard for people, and we get this question a lot, it's I need a therapist that does XYZ. Who's a therapist that is going to be widow friendly? And I know that is so hard to find. When I did therapy that was not on this online platform, it was hard. And it's kind of trial and error, kind of like a new medication, honestly, like a new antidepressant. And the way that BetterHelp is set up is it's easy to find somebody that has your specific needs as part of their expertise. And you know what? If you get into a couple sessions with that person and it's not a good fit, it's so easy to change. You can ask some of our friends in the Widow Wives Club. They've changed therapists and gotten one that has been a better fit for them. Well, a lot of them are lucky with who they get first time. I am so grateful for mine. I love her so much, and it's literally changed my life for the better.
This is amazing. So if you guys are wanting to add therapy to your toolbox or need a change in who you're seeing right now, consider checking out BetterHelp. They're one of our sponsors. If you go to trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month of therapy if you sign up with BetterHelp. And let me tell you, the day that I was in the hospital with my dad when he was dying, I was able to instant message with my therapist, and she checked on me all throughout the week. And I was not available for video sessions for a lot of those times because there were things we were dealing with, like mortuary stuff, and I was still able to be in contact with her. So they're very, very responsive, caring. It's such a great platform, and I recommend it to anybody who is looking for therapy.
Once again, it's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN.
And that's for 10% off your first month of online therapy.
You don't even have to wear pants, Mel.
I know this.
First-hand experience.
You can even wear a onesie.
Or a twosie.
Ooh, scary. All right, bye!